Brainstorming techniques, have you really mastered them, disciple? Introduction. Xuan traveled through time, without any systems or cheats, and could only temporarily stay in a small mountain village. One day, he was mistaken for a hidden expert, and the other party insisted on learning from him. As an honest person, Xuan didn't want to deceive anyone and refused sternly. However, the other party gave him too much, so he had to concoct a set of cultivation techniques and prepare to deceive him. As a result, his disciple actually succeeded in cultivation. Looking at his disciple, whose muscles and bones were thundering and his blood was as strong as gang, Xuan stared blankly and said, "I made this up. Why did I succeed in cultivation? What kind of demon are you?" At this moment, Golden Finger appeared and said, "Your disciple is getting started practicing the martial arts you have created. You have achieved great success in your direct cultivation, and your strength is 100 times greater than that of your peers." Chapter 1. I don't want to accept apprentices, but he gave me too much. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Senior, this is my apprenticeship ceremony. The boy respectfully placed 3 rosewood boxes in front of Xuan. You misunderstood. I'm not a reclusive expert, and I don't accept apprentices either. Take them back. Xuan spoke with a slight headache. The boy's name is Xuan, a wealthy young man from the county town. His family background made Xuan, who had traveled through this world, envious. However, his mind was not very clear, and he mistakenly believed that he was a hidden expert, so he insisted on learning from him. It has been more than 10 years since I traveled to this world, without any systems or cheats, and I couldn't even leave the small mountain village. Even worse, now he is the only one left in this small village. The small mountain village is surrounded by steep cliffs on all sides, with only a narrow passage about 10 feet wide for entry and exit. It is a good place for seclusion, and the ancestors of the village also moved here to avoid war. Nowadays, there is no war in the outside world, and the younger generation in the village is unwilling to spend their entire lives in this small mountain village, so they begin to leave the village and venture outside. The village is the closest town, 100 miles away, and the journey is very dangerous, especially when passing through a dense forest where fierce tigers and beasts often appear. Over the past decade, the population in the village gradually decreased. By the time Xuan crossed over, there were only a dozen or so households in the village, and most of them were left behind elderly people. Including Xuan, there are only 5 young men in the village who are unwilling to stay in the small village and are determined to leave the village and go to the city to make a living. Xuan is no exception. However, the journey was treacherous, especially in the 30-mile evil forest where evil tigers and beasts roamed. Several young men from the village died in the evil forest. 10 years ago, one day, a villager who had once wandered away from the village returned to the village and wanted to take his mother to the city to live. He claimed to have learned the art of killing tigers and was not afraid of the evil spirit Linmenghu. So Xuan and several young men left the village together. 30 miles of evil forest, although there are fierce tigers and beasts appearing, if you are lucky, you can pass through safely without encountering them. Xuan and his group are not very lucky. A colorful tiger appeared. The guy who claimed to be skilled in tiger killing immediately held a sharp knife in his hand, roared, and rushed forward, only to see a sliding shovel. Only Xuan managed to escape his life in a disheveled manner and returned to the small mountain village. He always believed that the reason why he was able to escape was because when he saw that guy slip a shovel, his predecessor decisively turned around and ran away. This tiger killing technique is too unreliable, just send yourself into the tiger's mouth. From then on, there was only Xuan left in the village, a young and bereaved old man who passed away one after another for 10 years. It was not until half a month ago that Xuan sent away the last old man in the village. Looking at the empty small mountain village, leaving only himself, Xuan felt sad and angry. The other travelers either rose against the trend or had extraordinary backgrounds. And what about myself? I can't even leave the small mountain village. Without systems and cheats, one may end up living alone in a small mountain village. Alas, I thought I could also become a figure in online literature, wielding a sword that spans millions of miles, slaying demons and eliminating them from the heavens and earth, practicing the Tao and becoming a saint, and standing proudly in awe of the eternal existence. I have really thought too much about it. Li Xian sighed in his heart and mocked himself, I can't even walk out of the small mountain village. Do I still want a sword to cross millions of miles? Haha. Just because of this self-deprecating remark, Xuan, who didn't know how to come to the small mountain village, heard the following sentence, a sword traverses thousands of miles, and mistakenly thought he was a hidden expert. He immediately knelt down with a thud, wanting to worship him as his teacher. Senior, I have finally found you. Please accept me as your disciple and pass on my unparalleled divine skill. What? Li Xian was startled, his eyes widened, and he looked at a boy of 16 or 17 years old, dressed in gorgeous attire and wearing a long sword on his waist. He was a bit confused. I, Xuan from Donghe County, have been determined since I was young to find the true martial arts. Today, I had the opportunity to meet my senior, and I am fortunate to have lived 3 lives. I hope you will accept me as your disciple. I will work hard to cultivate and never let down the legacy of my senior. Dong! 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 Looking at the young man with fanatical eyes and respectful kowtow, Li Xian's face was bewildered, and the first thought in his mind was, this kid, his brain is not very good. No matter how much Li Xian refused or denied being a reclusive expert, Xuan didn't believe it and insisted on learning from his master. His fanatical demeanor made Li Xian feel a headache. I am not a reclusive expert, nor do I understand the methods of martial arts cultivation. You have found the wrong person, and I still want to find someone to pass on my martial arts cultivation methods. Impossible. Xuan's gaze was firm and he said, Senior, don't lie to me anymore. You must be a hidden expert. Look here, with steep cliffs on all sides and beautiful scenery, it looks like a secluded place. If the senior is not a reclusive expert, why live alone here? Senior, please accept me as your disciple. I will never disappoint your inheritance. Xuan continued to kowtow, his eyes fanatical and firm. I'm not a reclusive expert, I don't know how to cultivate, I won't accept apprentices, you've really found the wrong person. Li Xian had a helpless expression on his face. This kid had no idea how to get through the evil forest and come to the small village. In order to find the hidden world expert, have you ruined your mind? I understand. Xuan suddenly stood up with a sudden expression on his face. Worshipping a teacher is a big deal, how can we be hasty? I will go back and prepare the apprenticeship ceremony now. Amidst Li Xian's bewildered expression, Xuan rushed away and quickly disappeared without a trace. Half a month has passed in the blink of an eye. For half a month, Li Xian has been frustrated and missed the opportunity to inquire about external information from Xuan. He even took this opportunity to see if he could leave the small mountain village. Unexpectedly, Xuan came again. And it brought a teacher worship ceremony. I am determined to worship him as my teacher. No matter how he denies it, he firmly believes that he is a reclusive expert. Li Xian doesn't want to deceive people, especially someone with an extraordinary background. He doesn't have any cheats or systems, and once caught, the consequences are unimaginable. So repeatedly refusing and denying, how could Xuan have a single idea and believe that he is a hidden expert, the kind that even 9 cows cannot pull back? Senior, this is 300 taels of gold. I know it's a yellow and white item that doesn't enter the eyes of the senior, but the apprenticeship ceremony is indispensable. This is a little bit of sincerity from the younger generation. Xuan opened one of the boxes, inside which 30 gold ingots were arranged as a whole. Zhaozuiyuan.com Li Xian looked at the golden ingot and swallowed his saliva, feeling a little tempted. However, in the end, he gritted his teeth and said firmly, I won't accept apprentices. I'm not a hidden expert either. Take it back quickly. I'm not a few years older than you. Although the senior's appearance is young, it is definitely due to his successful cultivation and youthful vigor. Xuan still firmly believed that he was a hidden expert and opened the second box. This is the millennium-old ginseng that my Su family treasures, and it is my younger generation's second apprenticeship gift. I hope you can accept it, senior. Li Xian swallowed his saliva and looked into the box at the 1,000-year-old ginseng plant with intact roots and human form. The faint fragrance of ginseng penetrated his nostrils, making him feel refreshed. 1,000-year-old ginseng is undoubtedly a rare item. The elderly in the village once said that 100-year-old ginseng can prolong the life of dying people for 3 days without dying, with a strong vitality and a miraculous effect of prolonging life. The century-old ginseng has already achieved this miraculous effect, while the millennium-old ginseng is even more miraculous. Li Xian was a bit tempted, but gritted his teeth and continued, "Take it back. I'm really not a reclusive expert, and I don't have any cultivation methods." Xuan opened the third box and said, "Senior, this is Zhui Yuanji, my third apprentice gift." Zhui Yuanji. Li Xian couldn't take his gaze away. The elderly in the village once said that there was a rumor in his ancestors that among all the primordial mushrooms in the world, 9 leaves were the most abundant. 9-leaf primordial mushrooms, when taken, never give rise to diseases, never exhaust their thoughts, never turn black or white and extend their lifespan by 20 years. A treasure medicine that is hard to find in the world. Li Xian looked into the box, a jade-white, lingxi-shaped mushroom with 9 purple leaves on its handle. He took a deep breath, managed to move his gaze away, and let out a pretentious deep sigh. "It's okay. You were here by chance, so I'll take you on as a teacher." Xuan gave too much, I can't bear to refuse. Chapter 2. Brainstorming techniques on the scene. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Disciple Xuan, pay respects to master. Xuan was extremely excited and knelt down with a thud, bowing respectfully. Get up. Li Xuanhua reached out and closed the box containing the apprenticeship ceremony, with a serious expression and a stern demeanor. He didn't want to deceive anyone, but Xuan gave him too much. My disciple has received it. As for practicing martial arts. No. But it's okay, just make up the story. Li Xian thought to himself that in his past life, he was also a street fighting author in online literature, so it was not a problem to fabricate a set of martial arts blindly. Seeing that Xuan's mind is not working well, he should be unable to distinguish the authenticity of his martial arts. As for not being able to cultivate beginners, that must not be a matter of cultivation, but a matter of qualifications. Yes, master. Xuan stood up excitedly and looked eagerly at Li Xian. Master, when will you pass on my cultivation techniques? Looking at Xuan's expectant gaze, Li Xian carried his back with one hand and pretended to be profound. He slowly said, I will temporarily accept you as an apprentice, but if you have not entered the cultivation stage within a year, it means that we have no connection as masters and apprentices. We cannot continue to entangle as masters in the future, understand? Xuan felt a chill in his heart, took a deep breath, and solemnly said, I understand. Master, please rest assured that if a disciple cannot enter the level within a year, it is because the disciple's qualifications are not good. I cannot blame Master. The disciple will definitely give up his thoughts and will not disturb Master Qingxiu again. Li Xian had a pleased expression on his face. It was really great for his disciple to have this realization. Not to mention a year, it's impossible to get started in 10 or 100 years. Before imparting the fabricated techniques to Xuan, Li Xian needs to first understand the external information and the martial arts situation in this world. Since Xuan mistakenly thought he was a reclusive expert who had already retreated from the world and was unaware of the external situation, it was only natural that Li Xian asked directly. The more Li Xian knew nothing about the outside world, the more Xuan not only did not doubt it, but also became more convinced that his master was an old monster who lived in seclusion. His cultivation was unparalleled and his youth was not old. Nature knows everything without hesitation. After some understanding, Li Xian has gained a general understanding of the outside world. Shaoshan village is located within the territory of Donghe County in the state of Qi, which has been in its heyday for over 100 years. There are 3 kingdoms in the world today, namely Qi, Wu, and the northern barbarian court. From Su Yan's mouth, it was learned that the martial arts of this world do not seem to be high. They have no ability to move mountains and seas, nor do they have the power to control Qi and soar into the air. The strong only soar over eaves and walls, leap several zhang, and lift 1,000 pounds. Su Yan, on the other hand, has been obsessed with some stories and legends since childhood, determined to find experts and cultivate incredibly powerful divine skills. Therefore, he has a small reputation in Donghe County, but it is not a good reputation. It is said that the young master of the Su family has a bad brain and actually believes in the legend of storytelling and seeks to learn from some hidden world expert. After learning about the external information, Li Xianlu felt a bit regretful. Surprisingly, this world is not a world of high martial arts. No incredibly powerful martial arts. Of course, perhaps it's because Su Yan couldn't come into contact with it. Regardless of the situation, it is not something that Li Xian can explore at this stage. After understanding the external force value, he has a rough idea of how to weave cultivation methods and deceive Su Yan. It is impossible to succeed in cultivation. Let's fool around for a while. If you can't get started, it's because Su Yan's aptitude is not good, not his own martial arts. With this in mind, Li Xian spoke up and said, as a teacher, the key to your cultivation lies in the word enlightenment. Whether you can get started or not depends on your qualifications and talents. I'll give you 1 year as a teacher. If you can't get started in 1 year, you're out of luck. While Su Yan was feeling uplifted in his heart, he also felt a bit uneasy, afraid that he wouldn't be able to practice at the beginner's level. He took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Please pass on my skills to master. If I can't get started, it's because I don't have enough merit for Su Yan." Li Xian, with his hands on his back and his head slightly raised, looked up at the sky and said calmly, "The path of martial arts is endless, but at the beginning of cultivation, there is nothing more than refining skin, bones, and organs." Su Yan's eyes were excited as he listened quietly, afraid of missing any word. Li Xian recalled the situation in his past life when he wrote online articles, where he made up a false plan to set his cultivation realm, and refined it to compile a relatively complete cultivation outline. At the beginning of martial arts, from the induction of qi and blood, only by sensing qi and blood can one enter the stage of refining skin. If one cannot even sense qi and blood, then everything is just empty talk. Refining the skin, as the name suggests, is the process of refining the skin film. Once the refining process is completed, it is incredibly tough, making it difficult for ordinary people to be injured by swords and knives. When cut on the body, it only leaves a light white mark. Since we are going to make up the truth, we naturally need to exaggerate the power of martial arts. After refining the skin, it is difficult for ordinary people to be injured with swords. Isn't this impressive? Judging from Su Yan's excited expression, he knew he had already been fooled. This is the true martial arts. Just refining the skin has already made it difficult for ordinary people to be injured by swords and knives. If it's refining bones and organs, how powerful should it be? I, Su Yan, have finally found an expert in the hidden world and learned the true martial arts. When I get started, let's see who else dares to mock me. Su Yan's eyes were fanatical and his heart was filled with excitement. Master, once you refine the skin, is it considered beginner's level? Su Yan asked excitedly. This. Li Xian instinctively nodded and told Su Yan that refining skin was the beginning. But on second thought, does it seem a bit simple to find the Xuan website www.zhaoxuan.com? Anyway, it's all just fooling around, so let's continue to play big tricks. So he said seriously, of course, it's not just beginners. Refining skin, bones, and organs is just the foundation of martial arts, not even beginners. Xuan was shocked in his heart and said, refining skin is already difficult to damage with swords and knives. Refining bones and organs is naturally even more powerful. These are not just beginners in martial arts, but just the foundation of martial arts. After entering, how powerful should one be? At this moment, Xuan was filled with longing for the beginner of martial arts. Master, how can I be considered an beginner in martial arts? As a beginner in martial arts, when you have successfully refined your organs, your qi and blood circulate throughout the sky, your body undergoes a small transformation, your muscles and bones thunder, and your qi and blood are as strong as a vigorous energy, you will be considered an beginner. Master, after entering the martial arts world, what will happen to the young and the great? How strong will their strength be? This martial art is divided into different levels. After entering, when your qi and blood soar to the sky like 100 zhang, blazing like fire, warding off evil spirits, burning the river and boiling the sea, this is the ultimate achievement. Li Xian continued to fabricate on sight. Su Yenhua became more and more excited as he listened. Just as he was about to continue asking, Li Xian waved his hand and interrupted, all right, you don't even have a beginner's degree. Don't ask too many questions, don't be too ambitious, and cultivate with composure. Being restless is not conducive to cultivation. Yes, master. Su Yan felt a chill in his heart as he hurriedly and respectfully spoke. Li Xian nodded in satisfaction, not because he didn't want to continue speaking, but because the rest of the cultivation had not been completed yet. The 3 stages of cultivation, namely skin refining, bone refining, and visceral refining, that are now fabricated are enough to deceive Su Yan. Not to mention 1 year, 10 or 8 years are absolutely impossible to truly achieve skin refining. Not to mention getting started. Chapter 3. Su Yan's diligent practice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 4. Su Yan's Self-Brain Supplement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before dawn, Su Yan had already tied up his horse steps and was practicing. Master said, to regain enlightenment and focus on meaning rather than form, to sense qi and blood, to mobilize qi and blood, to refine the skin mask. Ancient heavenly pride, completed the skin refining in 5 days. I haven't sensed my qi and blood yet, the difference is too big. Master said I can't be impatient, the more impatient it is, the more difficult it is to sense qi and blood. Su Yan restrained his mind and focused on himself, carefully sensing himself and his qi and blood. The sky is a touch of white. As the sun was about to rise, Su Yan, immersed in the sensation of qi and blood, suddenly felt a warm stream emerging from his chest and abdomen, thin and warm, as if flowing with his breath. Qi and blood. I have sensed qi and blood. At this moment, Su Yan was extremely excited. Calm down, be calm and not lose focus. Mobilize qi and blood, refine the skin mask. How to mobilize qi and blood? Master didn't specify, should I ask Master? No way. Master said, it depends on enlightenment and intention. I must grasp the feeling at this moment. If I relax, it will be difficult to sense qi and blood again. Moreover, if I had to ask my master in detail about how to mobilize my qi and blood, wouldn't it disappoint him? He thought I had a poor understanding. Su Yan thought so and immediately dispelled the idea of seeking advice from Li Xian. He continued to take a horse stance, repeatedly trying to mobilize his qi and blood, while recalling some of the explanations taught by Li Xian on how to mobilize his qi and blood. The mind and spirit all converged on themselves, immersed in mobilizing qi and blood, and the breath unconsciously changed with the adjustment of qi and blood. Gradually, a wisp of qi and blood permeated the whole body, and the skin turned slightly red, as if there was a warm current honing the skin mask. I think I've entered the process of refining leather, right? Xuan was extremely excited and finally sensed his qi and blood, and successfully mobilized them to refine his skin mask. Li Xian yawned, got up, finished washing up, and went out to prepare breakfast. He was the only one left in the village, self-sufficient and had already become a habit. As soon as he left, he saw Xuan practicing with his horse steps, and his mouth twitched. This disciple was hard-working, but unfortunately, no matter how hard he worked, it was of no use. The method of cultivation was fabricated by him, only by successfully cultivating can there be ghosts. When he can't hold on anymore, come ask me and make up some more nonsense. Li Xian shook his head and turned to leave. Xuan felt excited when he saw his master and was about to tell him that he had sensed qi and blood. We have entered the refining stage. As a result, seeing his master shake his head, his heart suddenly thumped. Is master dissatisfied with me? Yes, with my master's level, how could I not tell that I have already sensed qi and blood, and entered the stage of refining skins? My master must have thought that my hair was restless, arrogant, and couldn't hold my breath. After some brainstorming, Xuan immediately dispelled the idea of telling Li Xian that he had already sensed qi and blood and entered the stage of refining skin. Take a deep breath, calm down, and continue to mobilize qi and blood to refine the skin mask. Master is unfathomable, you can tell my reality at a glance. I cannot be arrogant or complacent. How is my cultivation progress? Master can tell at a glance, why should I speak up? Xuan realized in his heart that his master could tell at a glance how well he practiced, so there was no need to deliberately tell him. Li Xian caught a chicken in the chicken coop and prepared to continue stewing Zhuiyuanji, which is a rare treasure in the world. After eating Zhuiyuanji stewed chicken soup yesterday, he felt that his body had become stronger. Take out the knife, just about to kill the chicken. Suddenly, he said, no, I have an apprentice. There's no reason why I, as a master serving apprentice, should be serving my master as an apprentice. Anyway, I lied once. He's now my disciple, so it's reasonable for him to serve my master, right? Thinking this way, holding a chicken in one hand and a knife in the other, he walked towards Xuan. Tuer, come on, kill the chicken and stew it with some 9-leaf yuanji. Let's go cook. Xuan finished his work and took the chicken and knife from Li Xian's hand, feeling a bit confused. Why, can't you cook? Li Xian looked at him in a daze and frowned. Oh, Xuan, these two fools are from a wealthy family. How could they possibly cook? Nevertheless, since I have been accepted as an apprentice, how can I not make good use of it? Tuer, sitting in a row, sleeping and eating, are all practices. Although you have not yet entered the realm of being a teacher, it is too far away. But getting familiar with it in advance is also beneficial for you. Li Xian said with a serious expression. Master, I'm going now. Xuan's expression remained upright and respectful. Master's realm is too high. It may seem like a mundane matter, but in fact, this is a master, this is the state of seclusion. The more I think about it, the more I feel that my master is profound and unfathomable. He seems ordinary and doesn't show any strong power, but this is the true hidden world expert. Xuan went to cook. Li Xian felt uneasy and stared at him for a while, only to find that although Xuan was a bit unfamiliar with killing chickens and cooking, under his guidance, the rice he cooked should not be too difficult to swallow. So he confidently moved a chair and placed it under the big tree in front of the house. Li Xian lay on the chair, leisurely waiting for the meal to begin. Having apprentices to serve, such a small day is really nice. With Xuan's brain melon seeds, it is impossible to detect them in a short period of time, but one must also be prepared to retreat. After meals. Xuan has continued his cultivation. The speed of refining the skin film has increased, and the qi and blood have been enhanced by at least 50% at www.zhaoxuan.com. At this speed, although it is not possible to complete the leather refining in 5 days, there should be no problem completing it within a month. Xuan felt a significant increase in the speed of refining the skin film, and his heart was filled with excitement. Why does the speed of refining leather suddenly increase? Is it? He thought of Zhuiyuanji stewed chicken soup. Zhuiyuanji is a rare treasure medicine, and the Su family only treasures it. If it weren't for him being the only child of the Su family and deeply loved by his parents, he wouldn't have been able to bring Zhuiyuanji as a teacher worship gift. Master. Xuan was deeply moved at this moment. Master knows that Zhuiyuanji can help me cultivate, so he took it out for me to stew chicken to eat. I cannot let down my master's hard work. I must practice hard and strive to get started as soon as possible. Xuan, who had replenished his own brain, was deeply moved by his reverence for his master at this moment, comparable to the sun and moon. He mobilized his qi and blood, constantly refining his skin membrane. As he continued to refine, Xuan felt that his body was becoming stronger, his qi and blood were becoming more and more vigorous, and his skin membrane became tough, as if he had already started refining. I feel that my strength has more than doubled. I have just started to refine my skin, and how strong should I be if I have successfully refined my skin? I must get started in martial arts within a year. Xuan's gaze was firm. The effect of these 9-leaf yuanji is also too good. How do I feel that the power has increased? Do you want to enjoy it alone? Forget it, it was originally given by Xuan. Let's stew it together and eat it. Don't be too unscrupulous. Li Xian felt the change in his body and at some point, he had the idea of monopolizing Zhuiyuanji. After all, it was not heartless enough to dispel the idea of monopolization. Chapter 5. The Great Success of Refining Skin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has been more than half a month since I accepted Xuan as my disciple and taught him the fabricated techniques. In the past half-month, it has been the most comfortable day for Li Xian since his travels. Every day, he has his apprentices serving him, without having to cook his own meals, feed chickens, grow vegetables, and so on. Every day, either sleeping or strolling around the village, or lying on chairs, leisurely. There is only the last piece of Zhuiyuanji left. It was stewed today and finished. Li Xian exclaimed that Zhuiyuanji is truly a rare treasure medicine, and the effect is really amazing. For most of the month, he can clearly feel the changes in his body. My spirit has improved, my vision has improved, my body has become much stronger, and my strength has also increased. Will stewing Millennium Ginseng tomorrow be too nourishing? Li Xian lay on the chair, muttering to himself. Millennium Ginseng is different, why don't we keep it as a treasure? Looking sideways, Xuan, who was practicing with his horse steps, felt a bit puzzled. It's been almost half a month now, how can he be calm and composed? He has a calm and composed personality, which is quite good, but unfortunately his brain is not very good. That's good, the more calm his temperament is, the more advantageous it is for me. It's just that he hasn't practiced anything for half a month, and there's no doubt about it. Li Xian was greatly surprised. When waiting for dinner, ask him if he has any questions and fulfill his responsibility as a master. Let me think about how to make up and fool him. Li Xuanzhua pondered how to make up things more reasonably, how to comfort Xuan, how to encourage him to continue persevering. I finally succeeded in refining my skin. Xuan, who was practicing, felt a surge of qi and blood all over his body, his skin membrane tightened, and then he released it. At this moment, he felt a significant improvement. Refining leather has been done. Master is right. When practicing, one should not be impatient and should balance work and rest. I make time every day to cook, feed chickens, grow vegetables, and even catch game and add meals. It seems like my cultivation time has decreased, but with each relaxation, my mood is completely different. My cultivation speed is actually faster and easier. Master, his senior level is really too high. Xuan was amazed in his heart. Master is truly a reclusive expert, and every word and action, as well as every little instruction, have benefited him greatly. Glancing at Li Xian lying on the chair, Xuan's eyes showed envy and longing. When can I reach the level of a master? It may seem ordinary, but this is the true master. Perhaps this is what Master once said, returning to simplicity in approaching the Tao. I can't aim too high. I must stay grounded, and one day, I will become a strong master like myself. Xuan is supplementing his own brain and encouraging himself. In less than 20 days, I have achieved great success in refining my skin, and I am only one step away from perfection. At most, in 3 to 5 days, I can complete the process of refining my skin and start refining my bones. After I finish refining my skin, I will ask my master again about the techniques of bone refining. Master said, in ancient times, the heavenly pride completed the leather refining in 5 days. Although I cannot compare to it, I completed the leather refining in less than a month. It should be considered acceptable, right? Xuan looked at the time, and it was time to cook. So he took credit and went to the chicken coop to catch a chicken and slaughtered the stewed 9-leaf yuanji. A piece of 9-leaf yuanji every day, now only the last one is left. While killing the chicken, Xuan suddenly felt a stir in his heart. Master said, refining the skin is great. It's difficult for ordinary people to be injured by swords and knives. Why don't you give it a try? I'll take a gentle swipe and see. Xuan held the kitchen knife and scratched his arm. He is a martial artist who has achieved great success in refining skins, so naturally he does not belong to ordinary people, so he did not use his qi and blood, nor did he exert much force in this stroke. It's just the power of ordinary people. The blade cut across the arm, leaving only a faint white mark, and quickly returned to its original state. Is this the defensive power of refining skin Deshang? Xuan was extremely excited. Although he didn't use much force with this knife, it could easily open the chicken and pierce its belly. An ordinary person would be scratched, causing flesh and blood to crack, and the injury could penetrate into the bone. However, he was unable to leave any scars on his skin. As Master said, after refining the skin, ordinary swords are difficult to damage. Xuan is full of expectations for the upcoming bone refining and even organ refining. You have been able to remain calm and composed these days, without arrogance or impatience. I am very pleased to be your teacher. During the banquet, Li Xian pondered and spoke. Master, I understand. We must guard against arrogance and impatience, and remain calm and composed. Xuan spoke respectfully. Fortunately, I didn't feel anxious and composed, which left a good impression on my master. After practicing for such a long time, Xuan seems calm, not anxious, but must be anxious in his heart. Please calm him down and let him persist more. The matter has come to this point, and he can only continue to deceive. Li Xian muttered to himself, along the way of cultivation, the key lies in perseverance, firm willpower, and stability. Being eager for quick success and instant benefits is not advisable. You must remember. Yes, Master, I will definitely remember your teachings. Xuan solemnly nodded and said. In my heart, I suddenly realized, I have achieved great success in refining my skin. My master must have been afraid that I would be eager for quick success and instant benefits, so I hastily started refining my bones without a solid foundation. Even if I refine my skin perfectly, before refining my bones, I still need to be more solid. I can't be impatient and leave my master with the impression of being restless. Xuan warned himself in his heart not to forget himself and become arrogant and complacent just because his strength has improved. Li Xian didn't know that his words had already been self-medicated by Su Yan, let alone that Su Yan not only sensed qi and blood, but also had already achieved great success in refining skin. Seeing Su Yan listening so attentively, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. This disciple is a real person, but he is not smart enough, so he met me. If he met anyone else, he would probably be deceived and his family would be ruined. Unfortunately, I am not a reclusive expert, otherwise it would be a pleasure to have such a respected and sensible disciple. Li Xian sighed in his heart. So he spoke again and said, I know that you have accumulated some questions in your cultivation. I can now answer them for you. Su Yan's spirit lifted and he showed an excited expression. My master knew that I was about to refine my bones, and he definitely had some doubts about it. He first warned me not to be impatient, to remain calm, and then answered my questions. This not only calmed my impatience, but also allowed me to understand the process of bone refining. The more I think about it, the more I feel that every word from my master is full of profound meaning in teaching me. Master, there is no doubt about the method of refining skin. I would like to ask about bone refining, where qi and blood seep into the bones, constantly refining them. Is there any particular emphasis on this? To what extent is bone refining considered complete? Su Yan asked about bone refining, but Li Xian was taken aback. The words he had planned in advance were all about the induction of qi and blood, as well as some deceitful words during the skin refining stage. Unexpectedly, Su Yan asked about the method of bone refining. He didn't make up any deceitful words about bone refining beforehand. Chapter 6. Brainstorming bone refining and other steps. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This bone refining process requires attention to detail and is graded. Although Su Yan was caught off guard when asked about bone refining, Li Xian remained calm at all. At least in my past life, I was a writer of online articles, and my ability to make up things was not bad. These days, after eating chicken soup stewed with 9 leaves of yuanji, my memory has become stronger and my spirit has become more acute. I quickly thought of how to make up things blindly. Today, as a teacher, I will explain in detail the knowledge of bone refining for you. Refining bones is an extremely important foundation, which is crucial to the strength of martial arts. As the saying goes, if the bones are not strong, the body will not be strong. Li Xian's brain was rapidly spinning and he began to fabricate in an orderly manner. Theory after theory, Su Yan was mesmerized by it, nodding frequently and sometimes suddenly realizing it. Originally, there were so many details about bone refining. Fortunately, my master often taught me to be calm and not impatient, otherwise I would hastily refine bones without knowing the details. Isn't it true that I am cutting off the future of martial arts? Su Yan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Sure enough, you must listen to your master's teachings, not be impatient, be calm, and have more understanding. The more I listen, the more I feel that the depth of the bone refining stage is. Once the bone refining is completed, my strength will definitely increase several times. I have achieved great success in refining my skin, and I am about to complete it. After completing the refining process, I must settle down and carefully understand the art of bone refining before starting. Don't act too hastily. Su Yan made up his mind. Li Xian made up some nonsense and kept an eye on Su Yan's expression. He was quite satisfied with the way he listened attentively and nodded in satisfaction, saying, "My disciple, you must remember that starting to practice slowly doesn't mean you will also practice slowly in the future. Just like building a building, the foundation is very important. If the foundation is not solid, it is unstable, and it cannot withstand wind and rain, making it easy to collapse. The same goes for the journey of cultivation. Pursuing the speed in the early stage actually stifles one's own upper limit and the future of martial arts. Throughout history, the early stages of cultivation have been rapid, seemingly arrogant. However, in the later stages, the foundation is not solid, and the progress is slow, even reaching the upper limit, without any further progress. Li Xian's words were intended to comfort Su Yan. Although he had not yet sensed qi and blood, in the foundational stage, there was no need to pursue speed. A solid foundation was the foundation. Upon hearing this, Su Yan's spirit was uplifted and he thought to himself, Master is warning me that although my cultivation speed is not as fast as the ancient arrogance, as long as my foundation is solid, I can definitely come from behind. Master is an elderly person who holds high expectations for me. I cannot let him down. I must lay a solid foundation and surpass those ancient arrogance. Su Yan was deeply moved in his heart and respectfully said, Master, rest assured that my disciples will remember your teachings, not be impatient, build a solid foundation, and will never disappoint you. Li Xian nodded contentedly and said, You can understand the hardships of being a teacher. I am pleased to be a teacher. I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart and said, Finally, I've fooled him again. Even if he hasn't felt any qi or blood for a month or two, he should be able to calm down. Besides, after eating chicken soup stewed with 9 leaves of yuanji, my body has become stronger, and his body should also become stronger. He must have thought it was due to cultivation. However, deceiving people can only be deceiving for a while, let alone practicing this kind of thing. Perhaps Yan's mind is not very good, so we still need to think of a way to escape. This guy has a background. After stabilizing Su Yan's mentality, it will be much easier for him to continue practicing. 1 year is still early. Master, you said about the grading of bone refining. Is there any particular emphasis here? Su Yan asked respectfully. Well, that's right, bone refining is graded. Li Xian was taken aback in his heart, almost forgetting about the matter of forging and refining bones. Increasing the difficulty of bone refining, Su Yan couldn't even sense qi and blood, and couldn't even refine skin. The more difficult bone refining was even more extravagant. When he is unable to succeed in his cultivation for a long time, he will know the difficulty and retreat, thinking that his talent is not good enough. He will take the initiative to leave, feeling guilty for his master's cultivation. If I give him another chance, for example, if he has children, he can try to get started and show him some hope. If he can't cultivate on his own, let his children practice. In this way, the likelihood of being exposed is lower, and he can also receive a gift of apprenticeship for his future children. I have already cheated once, so I don't care if I cheat again. Li Xian thought that when this happened, he would successfully leave the small mountain village and hide in the state of Wu. In this way, the possibility of seeing Su Yan again would be very slim. With Su Yan's apprenticeship ceremony, I can also live a better life during my childhood in the state of Wu. With a serious expression, he said, the process of refining bones is divided into 4 levels. Refining bones like iron, refining bones like copper, refining bones like gold, refining bones like jade. Su Yan looked excited and asked, Is iron bone, copper bone, gold bone, and jade bone the 4 stages of bone refining? Li Xian shook his head and said, No way. These are 4 levels of bone refining, representing the upper limit of the martial arts path and the strength of oneself. Iron bones are commonly used by ordinary martial artists to refine bones, mostly at this level. Qi and blood are used to refine bones, which are as hard as iron and can be cut continuously with ordinary knives. Of course, iron bones are just ordinary and the upper limit of martial arts is not high. Find the book Garden www.zhaoxuan.com. Copper bones are stronger than iron bones. Their bones are like copper, and even after death, they will not decay for 1,000 years. Once copper bones are refined, their foundation is already deep, and the upper limit of martial arts is even higher. This can be considered a mid to high posture. Only by refining into golden bones can one be considered a heavenly pride. Li Xian spoke solemnly and said, The pride of ancient times is all refined into golden bones. Su Yan became excited and his eyes lit up. He asked, Master, how can we refine it into a golden bone? Li Xian saw his eyes shining and excited, feeling a bit speechless. Can you think that these two goods can be refined into golden bones? This is just my fabrication. So he said in a low voice, stay calm and don't be impatient. Yes, master. Xuan quickly restrained his excited emotions and sat upright. Once a golden bone is formed, even if it is buried underground for thousands of years after death, it still remains golden and stronger than steel. However, throughout history, there is no one who can refine it into a golden bone. Li Xian said in a deep voice, when I say, none among all, it means that among the many heavenly prides, there is none among all. Master, does Tianjiao also have different levels? Xuan asked curiously. Nature. Li Xuanzan nodded and said, just like a beauty, there is also a gap between them. Tianjiao is no exception. Xuan suddenly said, I understand. Just like the spring fragrance tower in Donghe County, the number one is a rare beauty, but the beauty of the flower queen is even better. Li Xian's eyes were strange, and he gritted his teeth secretly in his heart. He truly deserved to be a rich family's son, didn't he go to Golanless? I really want to go too. Master, I'm just a metaphor. I've never been there. Xuan noticed Li Xian's strange gaze and awkwardly chatted up. Chapter 7. Blows to the Gods. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Xian withdrew his gaze and regained his strict teacher's demeanor. Your metaphor, although not elegant, is just that. Xuan breathed a sigh of relief and secretly warned himself, in the future, we can't make blind metaphors. If we leave a bad impression on our master, it will be bad. There is no one who can become a golden bone. Even though the speed of cultivation in the early stage is not as fast as ancient Tianjiao, if one can become a golden bone, they will not be weaker than ancient Tianjiao. Li Xian continued to fabricate. To refine a golden bone, one must rely on perseverance, talent, and perseverance. Qi and blood seep into the bones, refine to the bone marrow, and then trigger a transformation of qi and blood. This cycle is repeated 9 times, and the golden bone is formed. The difficulty of becoming a golden bone is self-evident. Perseverance, talent, and perseverance are indispensable. If one can become a golden bone, the path of martial arts will be smooth. Xuan's heart surged upon hearing this. Master, I will definitely refine it into a golden bone. You have such ambition, and I am pleased to be your teacher, but you can do everything within your means without demanding too much. Li Xuanqin nodded in comfort. He muttered to himself, only by refining into golden bones can you have ghosts. Xuan can't wait to practice at this moment, striving to refine bones and become golden bones as soon as possible. After listening to his master's words, he was now boiling with enthusiasm and full of energy. Master, where is jade bone? What is jade bone? Xuan did not forget that in the stages of bone refining, there is also a jade bone above the golden bone. Jade bones. Li Xian paused for a moment and said, originally, I didn't plan to talk about jade bones. Since you asked, let me tell you. At this moment, his mind was spinning rapidly, making up nonsense about jade bones. Jade bones, their bones are flawless and crystal clear like jade. Those who can refine into jade bones are timeless. Li Xian stood up, carrying his back with one hand, slightly raising his head, showing his superior demeanor. Slowly speaking, he said, my disciple, jade bones are not something that can be achieved by talent, perseverance, or perseverance. Those who can become jade bones are not only lucky, but also favored by heaven and earth. Only those with transcendent understanding and the ability to perceive the Tao can become jade bones. You must remember not to set your sights too high. Xuan was greatly shocked in his heart. It was both atmospheric luck, a darling of heaven and earth, and a sensory avenue. It was so mysterious. The more mysterious it is, the more powerful it becomes once refined into a jade bone. Master, What would happen if it were refined into jade bones? Li Xian gave him a meaningful glance and said, there is a saying about jade bones. Jade bones are flawless and will never change. Once a jade bone is formed, even after death, it will not decay through countless years, and even be precipitated by time. It will become a treasure of heaven and earth, like a spirit, becoming a rare treasure in the world. Li Xian opened his mouth and started to make up and blow, making the jade bones look so divine. Xuan was deeply shocked, clenching his fists tightly, his blood boiling, and he wished he could immediately refine it into jade bones. Li Xian patted his shoulder and said, as a teacher, I don't expect you to become a jade bone. Remember this belief in your heart and do your best. Xuan clenched his fist and said with excitement, Master, don't worry. I will work hard and never let down your expectations. Li Xian had a pleased expression on his face and thought to himself, since he had already mentioned bone refining, let's also compile a list of refining organs. Looking at Xuan's appearance, it feels like he has been beaten with chicken blood, and he will be full of fighting spirit in a short period of time. Taking advantage of the current inspiration, let's also share with him the idea of refining dirt. So Li Xian spoke up and said, since I have already explained the method of refining bones in detail to you, I will also explain the method of refining organs to you along the way. I will explain this basic realm to you in detail. Thank you very much, Master. I am all ears and ears. Xuan respectfully said. Refining organs is the process of refining the organs, enhancing their vitality and strength. Even if the heart is pierced, it will not die. It can be healed and restored with the help of qi and blood. Of course, this can only be an ordinary injury. If it is injured by the power of qi and blood, it will be different. Li Xian spoke calmly and without hesitation. Xuan was shocked to hear that even if he had a heart stab, he wouldn't die. How could he recover with his qi and blood? The strength of martial arts is truly beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The 5 internal organs correspond to the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Qi and blood circulate in the 5 internal organs, forming a harmonious and integrated whole. The unity of the 5 elements is the perfect process of refining the internal organs, and then the basic realm is integrated into one. When the muscles and bones thunder, and the qi and blood are as strong as vigorous, it is the beginning. Li Xian compiled the theory of refining dirt and some rough methods for refining dirt. He is not a true cultivator, nor does he have any martial arts skills. The cultivation methods he fabricated are naturally not very detailed, but there is also a rough outline. That's why after Li Xian finished speaking, he added, My disciple, you must remember that true cultivation is enlightenment and intention. Only in this way can you walk out of your own path. The transmission of your teachings as a teacher is the true meaning of martial arts. You need to understand it yourself, to comprehend the meaning within it, and not be limited to specific forms. Do you understand? Xuan respectfully saluted and said, Yes, Master, I will remember it in my heart and constantly understand it. I will never slack off or be confined to form. You can understand, I am very pleased to be a teacher. Li Xian was filled with a look of relief. Pack up, feed the chickens, and then practice. After waving away Xuan, Li Xian took out the 1,000-year-old ginseng plant. With a conflicted expression on his face, this is a rare item. Isn't stewing it now a waste? It's such a big plant, it's okay to try stewing it at Xuan www.zhaoxuan.com. I've never eaten millennium ginseng in my 2 lifetimes. Li Xian pinched 2 long ginseng beards and instructed Xuan to use them for stewing chicken tomorrow. Xuan finished his miscellaneous tasks and began his cultivation. He took a horse stance and tempered his skin while carefully comprehending the method of refining bones and organs taught by his master. I want to understand its meaning and its mystery. Gradually, Xuan gained some insights and a clear direction for the specific methods of refining bones and organs. Refining skin is like this, so refining bones and organs naturally won't make a big difference. It's just a way to mobilize qi and blood, and the direction of refining is different. I understand. Xuan was extremely excited. The next day, after eating 1,000-year-old ginseng stewed chicken soup, Li Xian was surprised to find that there was a feeling of stronger breath and endurance, and his body even became stronger. How could the millennium ginseng in this world have such a miraculous effect? He immediately took out the entire ginseng plant and instructed Xuan to stew a little every day. Although ginseng is precious, one's own body is more important. Xuan was deeply moved and his eyes were moist. This is my apprenticeship ceremony, but my master did not hesitate to take it out to help me cultivate. I cannot disappoint my master. After I enter the bone refining process, I will go back and make sure to select exquisite apprenticeship gifts for my master. Xuan, who was practicing, felt that his qi and blood became more vigorous, and the speed of refining the skin membrane increased significantly. The medicinal power of ginseng was constantly refined, enhancing qi and blood, and enhancing the speed of refining the skin membrane. I will be able to complete the leather refining no later than the day after tomorrow. Xuan felt the progress of leather refining, feeling extremely excited in his heart. Chapter 8. Xuan Refining Bones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sky turned white, and a ray of sunrise shone through the narrow passage of the village, shining on Xuan who was practicing. As always, Xuan, who had risen to practice before dawn, was extremely excited in his heart. With the circulation of qi and blood, his skin membrane tightened at a certain moment, making a bang sound, like the sound of a steel string suddenly tightening and bursting out. The skin membrane instantly has a feeling of being round and leak-free. The strength has become stronger, and there has been an instant increase in qi and blood. The leather refining is complete. 20 days, it took me 20 days to finally complete the leather refining. Although it's far inferior to the ancient Tianjiao, I still belong to the Tianjiao level. As long as I refine into golden bones, I will never be weaker than the ancient pride of heaven. Xuan was extremely excited, raised his hand, clenched his fists tightly, and felt his own strength. Even bare-handed, almost fearless of swords and knives. With one enemy in 100, it's no problem. And this is just completing the skin refining, it's just the most basic stage of the basic realm. Let's settle down today and start bone refining tomorrow. Xuan finished his work and picked up his hoe to plant vegetables and feed chickens, relaxing his mind and preparing for tomorrow's bone refining. He remembered his master's teachings, to balance work and rest, and to remain calm. Li Xian woke up and finished washing up. He came out of the room and was surprised to find that Xuan was not practicing. This is the first time Xuan hasn't practiced in the morning since he became a disciple. What situation, did you give up? Impossible, yesterday he was still practicing hard and suddenly gave up. Based on his understanding of Xuan these days, he is a person with one-track mind and his brain is not very good, so it is impossible for him to suddenly give up. Li Xian went to the chicken coop to take a look. The chickens had just been fed, and from a distance, he saw Xuan weeding in the vegetable garden. So I walked over. Master. Xuan respectfully saluted. Well, not bad. I can calm down and tidy up the vegetable garden. Li Xian glanced at the vegetable garden and was surprised to find that all the weeds had been removed. The vegetables were growing well and even better than himself. It's all my master's guidance. Xuan smiled foolishly and said. Why came to the vegetable garden early today to weed? Li Xian came to inquire why he didn't practice this morning. At present, Xuan doesn't seem to be giving up. I will strictly follow my master's teachings, balance work and rest, and work hard to cultivate and settle down for the future. Xuan respectfully replied. Li Xian breathed a sigh of relief, not giving up, but relaxing his mind and continuing his cultivation to sense qi and blood. A person with one mind can't easily give up. So, with a pleased smile on his face, he said, I am pleased that you have this realization as a teacher. Xuan was immediately excited and said to himself, sure enough, I didn't finish refining my skin and immediately rushed to refine my bones. It was the right choice. Settling down and relaxing my tense mind is the right path to cultivation. Maintain a good mindset, don't be arrogant or impatient, and you will surely achieve success. Xuan encouraged and turned around to leave. I wandered around the village and found that since the last elderly person passed away, all the houses in the village have been abandoned. Several houses were converted into chicken coops by him, while the rest were already overgrown with weeds. How did Xuan pass through the evil forest? Because of luck, he happened to avoid the fierce tiger and beast. I can't stay stuck in the village all the time. I always have to think of a way out of here. The breakthrough lies with Xuan. Xuan pondered in his heart. I'm such a miserable traveler, I can't even leave the beginner's village. Xuan let out a sigh. The next day. Before dawn, Xuan got up to practice. Qi and blood seep into the bones, honing the bones. It's slightly different from refining the skin, but the difference is not bad. My goal is to have golden bones, and only by refining them can we compare to the ancient pride of heaven. Xuan's gaze was firm, although master doesn't say anything, he definitely hopes that I can refine into a golden bone. Only by being on par with the ancient pride of heaven can I be worthy of being his successor. As for the jade bone, my master said, it's not something that can be achieved with perseverance and talent. I will do my best. If I can become a jade bone, I will definitely surpass the ancient pride of heaven. The difficulty of jade bones is too great, and it cannot be achieved through talent and perseverance, so Xuan's primary goal is to refine them into golden bones. Xuan's qi and blood began to seep into the bones, initially very slowly. At a certain moment, the bones all over his body seemed to have a feeling of ant bites, tingling and itching, a bit uncomfortable. Qi and blood have seeped into the bones, and it's being honed. I can't believe I have this feeling. Xuan gritted his teeth and persisted. No wonder master said that refining into a golden bone relies on talent, perseverance, and perseverance. At the beginning of bone refining, that's all. Once it reaches the golden bone and seeps into the bone marrow, there will definitely be a more uncomfortable feeling. His bones were numb and itchy all over, as if ants were climbing. Xuan's forehead showed sweat, but he gritted his teeth and persevered, his gaze firm. Even if he felt uncomfortable, he would persevere. Fortunately, as qi and blood continued to seep in, after enduring the initial stage, the tingling and itching sensation of ants climbing began to weaken. Next, there is a feeling of refining all over the bones, similar to refining the skin film, but with much higher difficulty. The progress of qi and blood seeping into bone refining is very slow, only staying on the surface of the bone and unable to further penetrate into the depths of the bone. At this moment, Xuan realized that the difficulty of finding a book garden www.zhaoxuan.com to refine bones was beyond imagination. No wonder those who can refine into golden bones are so rare. Xuan came out of the room and saw Xuan practicing at a glance. He couldn't help but nod. As expected, a person with a single mind would not give up easily. Good attitude maintained. Xuan's eyes lit up as he saw his master nodding, and his heart immediately lifted. Master must have endured the pain of bone refining for me and persevered to show his approval. Persist. Persist. Even in the greatest pain, persist and never give up. Xuan encouraged himself in his heart. Continuing to refine the bones, as more and more qi and blood seeped in, covering the bones, the feeling of ants climbing disappeared as they continued to refine. However, the feeling of sand rubbing against each other appeared. Xuan's forehead was sweating, but he gritted his teeth and remained silent, continuing to refine. I don't know how long it has been, but the feeling of sand rubbing against the bones has become stronger and stronger. Xuan feels like he can't bear it anymore. Sweat droplets kept dripping from the forehead. Lying on a chair under the tree, Xuan looked up at the time and then at Xuan. I'm about to have lunch. What's wrong with this disciple today? He forgot the time. It's time to go cook. So Li Xian spoke up and said, all right, let's go cook. It's getting late. Upon hearing these words, Xuan's heart suddenly shook and he began to withdraw his efforts. The feeling of sand rubbing against his bones gradually disappeared. At this moment, I was deeply moved and said, Master must have seen that I have reached my limit, so let me relax a bit. Yes, Master. Xuan took credit and respectfully spoke the truth. P.S. Seeking follow-up reading, seeking votes, seeking everything. Chapter 9. Cannot mention being a teacher to anyone. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Xian nodded, feeling the need to tap his disciple. How could he forget to cook? It's not good to have a mind full of cultivation. Work and rest should be combined, and cultivation should not be excessive. Do you understand? Li Xian spoke solemnly. Upon hearing this, Xuan looked ashamed and said, Yes, Master, I will definitely remember it in my heart. I was deeply moved in my heart and said, Master is afraid of me and blindly perseveres, which can cause harm to my body. Yes, although the key is to persevere, it still needs to be done step by step. I have just started to refine my bones, and if I persist, it may easily lead to problems. You need to understand that persistence also requires attention. One relaxation, a balance between work and rest. It is necessary to relax the mind appropriately in order to cultivate more efficiently and gain insights. Li Xuan taught the way. I understand now, I will definitely not make this mistake again. Xuan spoke respectfully. Sure enough, blindly holding on can easily lead to problems. It's important to relax your mind appropriately, otherwise it's like a string that is stretched too tightly or for too long, making it easy to break. Xuan suddenly had a clear understanding in his heart. Go ahead. Li Xian waved his hand and asked Xuan to cook. This disciple listens to teachings, but unfortunately, I am not a true expert. The cultivation methods are also fabricated, and persistence is useless. I sighed in my heart again, but since I had already been deceived, I could only continue to deceive. After Xuan entered the bone refining process, whenever qi and blood further infiltrated the bones and began to refine them, there would be a feeling of sand rubbing against the bones. However, Xuan did not continue to persevere. As long as he could not hold on anymore, he would stop working and do other things to relax his mind. 5 days later. Xuan, who was practicing, only felt a shock of qi and blood, causing his bones to vibrate. When qi and blood seeped into his bones, he felt a smooth sensation. The whole person felt a sense of strengthening, and their qi and blood also increased accordingly. I finally got started with bone refining. Xuan was extremely excited, and after 5 days of hard work, he finally completed the first stage of bone refining. The next bone refining will be much smoother, and there will be no more painful feelings of ants biting or sand rubbing. Only in the initial stage of refining bones like copper will the feeling of pain reappear. I am currently in the beginner stage of refining bones like iron, but now that I have started, the next steps of refining will be easier until I refine bones like copper. Xuan was extremely excited. As long as there was no painful feeling during the refining process, he could persist for a longer time and spend more time on cultivation. I have been out for almost a month now, and now I have started bone refining. My strength is so strong that I am not afraid of being surrounded by 100 people even with bare hands. It's time to go back and give my master the apprenticeship gift, but all of it was given to me for cultivation. I should also buy some rare medicinal herbs and prepare another apprenticeship gift for my master. Xuan felt that although his master didn't care about his apprenticeship ceremony, as a disciple, how could he ignore the etiquette of respecting his master? At the level of a master, rare and precious medicines will never be taken seriously. After all, in the eyes of ordinary people, precious medicines are just ordinary things. What kind of apprenticeship ceremony should I prepare? Xuan fell into contemplation. Suddenly, he patted his head and said, "Why am I so stupid? Master doesn't care about any rare treasures at all. I just need to bring my heart to them. Decorate Master's house with toys like gold and jade, and Master should like them." After figuring it out, Xuan's whole body relaxed. Go outside to catch a wild rabbit, go to the stream to catch a fish, and cook a sumptuous meal for Master before leaving. Xuan took credit and left the village to prepare ingredients. Looking at the sumptuous dining table, Li Xian had a satisfied expression on his face. This disciple is not bad. The food is becoming more and more delicious, and there are also more dishes. Master, I have been out for almost a month now and I want to go home. After dinner, Xuan spoke up. Li Xian's heart thumped and he said, "After this kid goes back, when it comes to his apprenticeship, shouldn't I expose it? He's not very clever, and his parents and family shouldn't all be mentally challenged, right? But if Xuan is not allowed to go home, it cannot be justified, and it will actually cause Xuan suspicion." After a moment of contemplation, Li Xian spoke up and said, "It would be great to go back. However, as a teacher, I want to remind you that you must not disclose your cultivation to anyone, including your parents, before you start. Do you understand?" "Yes, Master, disciples will never mention anything related to cultivation to anyone else." Xuan was taken aback and immediately solemnly promised. Being a teacher is quiet, likes to be low-key, and doesn't like to be ostentatious. Although I have accepted you as an apprentice, I cannot mention being a teacher before I start. I hope you can understand. Li Xian's expression was serious and genuine. "Yes, Master, I will never mention you at all before my disciples start learning," Xuan respectfully assured. "If I haven't started yet, it means I have no connection with my master. My master made an exception and accepted me as a disciple. If I can't start now, it will ruin my master's reputation. As a disciple, it's important to maintain my master's reputation." Xuan felt a bit ashamed, his talent was still a bit lacking. If you can't get started and ruin your master's reputation, won't it make your master ridiculed? As a disciple, we should prioritize the honor, disgrace, and reputation of our master. Li Xian originally intended to avoid being exposed in advance and being exposed, so he advised Xuan not to mention himself, let alone anything about cultivation. Zhaozuiyuan.com. I don't know, but Xuan has self-medicated. As a teacher, I naturally believe in you. You should go back earlier and pay attention to safety on the way. Li Xian's face softened and he reminded, "You need to pass through the evil forest for 30 miles. There are fierce tigers and beasts inside. You need to be careful not to get hurt. The evil forest is too dangerous." Xuan alone, if he encounters a fierce tiger or beast, it may be difficult for him to survive. Li Xian can only remind him that whether he can safely pass through depends entirely on Xuan's luck. "Yes, Master." Xuan knelt down with a thud and respectfully kowtowed his head 3 times, saying, "Master, I can be as short as 6 or 7 days, and as long as 11 or 12 days. I will definitely come back to serve your elderly family. You have a heart." Seeing Xuan so respectful, respecting teachers and valuing morality, and showing filial piety, Li Xian was also touched in his heart. This scam is deceiving me, how could I come up with some emotions? Alas, as expected, I am not a qualified scammer, this is all forced. Li Xian felt helpless in his heart. He really doesn't want to deceive people. It's all because Xuan has a bad brain and insists on being scammed in time. Moreover, he gave too many apprenticeship gifts. Xuan has left. Li Xian stood on the hillside at the entrance of the village, looking at Su Yenyuan's back with a somewhat complicated expression. I hope he can safely pass through the evil forest, this silly kid. Sigh. Sighed until Su Yan's figure disappeared from sight, and Li Xian returned to his residence. Lying on the chair under the big tree, suddenly feeling a little lonely. Damn it. I'm used to having apprentices to serve me, but suddenly I feel lonely again. I don't feel good about it. Li Xian patted his face and couldn't help but curse. Chapter 10. The apprentice was divorced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the first day after Su Yan left, Li Xian got up early and went out. He didn't see the figure of those hard-working cultivators, nor did anyone cook for him. He had to do it himself to feed chickens and grow vegetables. I always feel uncomfortable all over. On the second day after Su Yan left, Li Xian began to feel anxious again. This foolish disciple, won't die in the evil forest, will I? He has been here twice and everything is fine. Shouldn't he be okay this time? On the fifth day of Su Yan's departure, Li Xian came to the hillside outside the village and looked in the direction of Su Yan's departure, but did not see anyone coming. I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. Even if it were exposed, they wouldn't have arrived so quickly to catch me as a scammer. Will I be exposed or not? Alas, Su Yan is a foolish kid with a bad brain. He comes from a decent background, so there will always be someone with a good brain, right? If this is exposed, wouldn't I want to be cold? Li Xian's heart was chaotic and a bit worried. On the 10th day after Su Yan left, Li Xian was gazing on the hillside. Once he found that the situation was not right, he hid and ran away. This disciple won't die in the evil forest. He hasn't returned home, has he? Or, was it banned? The more he thought about it, the more chaotic his heart became. Li Xian cursed inwardly, damn it. It's not that I insist on deceiving him, it's because his own brain is not working well, how can he blame me? I'm doing too poorly, I'm ashamed. Li Xian sighed and realized that he, as a passerby, had done such a shameful job. On the 11th day, Su Yan finally returned. Master, the disciple has returned. Watching Su Yan respectfully greet him, he was the only one who came, and not a group of people appeared. Binding him up as a fraud, Li Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Well, just come back. His expression remained calm, as usual, as if he had already known about Su Yan's return. Master, this is a little token of my disciple's appreciation. Su Yan placed 2 long boxes on the table. You have a heart. Li Xian's expression was calm, and he raised his hand to open a box. Inside is a sword with a golden scabbard, carved with auspicious clouds and auspicious animal patterns, inlaid with red, white, and blue gemstones, totaling 9. Baby. At first glance, it was priceless, and Li Xian was extremely excited. This foolish disciple's background was even richer than he had expected. His face remained calm and motionless, seemingly unmoved. Reaching out and picking up the sword from the box, it was a bit heavy. On both sides of the scabbard, there are 9 precious pearls embedded, totaling 18 precious pearls. These 18 pearls alone are of great value. On the hilt of the sword, 2 larger red gemstones are embedded in a circle. Li Xian drew his sword out of its sheath slightly, and a golden light appeared before his eyes. This was a sword cast entirely of gold. Put the sword back in its sheath and put it back in the box. Li Xian's seemingly calm face was actually trembling with excitement in his heart. If you become wealthy, this sword can be passed down as a family heirloom. You don't have to worry about escaping to the state of Wu in the future. With a slight hint of approval on his face, he said, you have this intention. I am very happy to be your teacher. Although this sword is ordinary, playing it for a while is also good. Su Yan was immediately excited upon hearing this and quickly said, Master, as long as you like it. Master is truly an expert in the hidden world. Such a priceless sword, he was not moved at all, just thinking he could play with it. My admiration for my master has once again been elevated in my heart. Li Xian opened the second box and inside was a flawless jade rui. His eyes lit up slightly, and this jade rui looked like a treasure. Not bad. Nodding, Li Xian expressed satisfaction. Master, I also brought some precious medicinal herbs. Su Yan took off the package and said. Li Xian raised his eyebrows and thought to himself, he also noticed that taking these rare tonics has improved his body. Do you think it's beneficial for cultivation? This tonic, as usual, you weigh it and put it on. Li Xian glanced at it and found that there were no 9-leaf yuanji or millennium ginseng. Among them, 2 5-leaf yuanji and 300-year ginseng were also rare medicinal herbs. Yes, master. Su Yan put away the medicinal herbs and started tidying up the house, preparing to cook. Li Xian was satisfied in his heart. This disciple was sensible and knew he had done the work as soon as he came back. What's going on? He has a dejected expression on his face. What's the problem? Suddenly, Li Xian noticed that although Su Yan was working, his expression was quite depressed, and his heart couldn't help but thump. Did someone remind him this time when he went home, which made him somewhat suspicious? Or, could it be that without sensing qi and blood for a long time, one did not enter the process of refining skin and suffered a little setback when returning home, feeling frustrated? We can't let him go down in despair. It's all up to this. If we don't continue to deceive him, it's easy to stumble. We must boost his confidence. Li Xian thought so and said, Apprentice, why are you feeling down? But it's about cultivation. Su Yan wiped the table with his hand and said somewhat dejectedly, Master, it's not about cultivation, it's my disciple. I got divorced this time. I'm going home. Divorce. Li Xian was taken aback for a moment and muttered to himself, divorce. Your name is Su Yan, not Xiao Yan. It's okay then. It's impossible to make a comeback. What a sad story. What's going on? Why did you divorce? Asked with a look of concern from the master towards the disciple. Su Yan looked dejected and lowered his head, saying, She said my brain is not working properly. Being with me is too embarrassing. She's right, your brain is really not working well. Li Xian muttered to himself. Stand up, pat Su Yan on the shoulder, and find Xuan www.zhaoxuan.com. Anyway, I still want to comfort my disciple. You are my disciple, and getting divorced is like she has no eyes. Master is right, I think so too. Did you shout, 30 years east and 30 years west of the river, don't deceive young people into poverty? Li Xian asked with a dry cough. Su Yan looked at his master in confusion and said, Master, I'm not poor. Shit. Li Xian's eyebrows twitched and he felt his heart pricked. Immediately, with a serious expression on his face, he said, My disciple, where are you not poor? Do I say that you are poor for money? No. It is poor cultivation, poor strength, and knowledge of martial arts. Su Yan immediately looked ashamed and said, Master taught me that I am poor, I am very poor. Immediately, he said again, But Master, don't worry, I haven't lost my ambition. Although I didn't shout a word not to deceive the young man who is poor, I also told her that if you mock me, insult me, and abandon me today, I will make you regretful and unable to rise up in the future. At the end, Su Yan raised his head slightly, his eyes firm. Li Xian twitched at the corner of his mouth and muttered to himself, How could this kid feel like a son of luck? It must be an illusion. Well, disciple, you have this ambition, it's very good. Li Xian saw that Su Yan still had a sense of melancholy in his eyes, so he said again, Getting out of marriage is always a good thing for you. You must know that only through setbacks can you be brave. The pride of ancient times has always risen from setbacks. Along the way of cultivation, emphasis is placed on enlightenment, clarity of mind, and self-reflection. After patting Xuan's shoulder, Li Xian said sternly, "My disciple, there is a saying that goes, without a woman in your heart, cultivation is like having a god. If you are divorced, without a woman in your heart, without any thoughts, you must have made great progress."